Okay, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about how I keep myself learning new things, not necessarily by going through, standard education, but how I do it in my spare time and enjoy doing it. So education for me wasn't the best thing. I really didn't enjoy it. It didn't really fit my my way of learning. So my way of learning is very much by either watching or doing it. However, school was very much you're being told how you should do it, and that was it. There was nothing else. It wasn't anything beyond that. It wasn't like, okay, here's this actually doing it now. Apart from a few science lessons, it was always theoretical, and it wasn't how I naturally learn. So the way that I kept myself learning is I left college and I thought to myself, well, how can I keep myself learning? Because I always want to learn something new, and you should always keep yourself like that. And I thought to myself, well, I don't really have to, because I'm already learning stuff. And I realised the way that I do it is through YouTube. So I don't sit there and I watch how-to videos, but everything that I watch, I realised that all of my subscriptions on YouTube were educational in some way or another. So whether it's talking about photography or videography or filmmaking or literally anything, there's a few channels that aren't educational. They're just it's YouTube. But I realized that most of my education comes from videos from YouTube. So I watch things like tech channels that teach me about the latest tech, or I watch electronics channels that teach you about different hardware and stuff. And especially in my previous job, I use those channels to actually learn all the different components and stuff, and how I actually should use them, and what people would need. So that's a really good way of learning, and you don't really feel like you're learning at all, because it's so it's just like you sat down watching TV or whatever. You sit there, you watch your videos, you enjoy it, but at the end of the day you're actually learning something. So I watch a lot of YouTube, so a lot of the stuff that I watch and I learn is throughout YouTube, and because I watch so much of it, I end up learning quite a lot, and it sticks with you because it's more easy for me to remember what those videos are about, rather than a teacher stood at the front of the classroom and going, oh, this is that, blah blah blah, write it down, whatever, you won't remember, and that's it. Because that didn't work for me, and it doesn't work for me. The other way that I enjoy learning is by actually doing stuff. So photography wise, I didn't just sit there. I got my hands on a camera and I took pictures, literally everything, any family event there was, or any walk that I went on, or anything like that. I'd take a picture of everything, and I'd learn all of the controls, and I'd understand how everything works. So by the time I get to now, I know how everything works. I know how to use a camera, as much as this doesn't look like it because my light has died. I actually understand how that is because I've actually done it. And I think that's a better way, because when I'm in a job or whatever, I can, and I need to go from outdoors to indoors with a camera, literally just change it because I know what to expect. I know what settings, because I've done it before and I've learned it. Instead of it being written down on paper and then suddenly being thrown in, I've actually learned it. So I know how to use it. And a really important one that I've recently started doing is reading. And if anyone knows me, they'll know that reading isn't my strongest point, because I went through education, and it was always, read this, read that, you should read this, you should read that, when none of it really stuck with me at all. So I didn't really want to learn anything. So I was like, I don't really want to learn, don't want to read them books. So after I'd finished school, I just thought to myself, I don't want to read books. That I always hated them. So I really thought about them negatively. But actually, I've got a couple of books here that I've recently bought, and this is a very recent thing as well. But I'm actually starting to read again. So every night I'm getting into bed and I'm reading. And now these aren't fiction books. All of these things are, I've got Start Now Get Perfect Later by Rob Moore, and a bit of Gary Vee as well. So all of these books are educational books that they do feel a bit more educational, but they're just a person talking. So going through school, it was always you have your textbooks and stuff. These aren't like textbooks at all, and they're not like the fiction books at secondary school. So that's what I really didn't like. I was like, well, I'm not learning anything from this. whereas these I actually learn stuff from. And I think it's really important to kind of look at learning as not as a chore, but as something that's fun, because the more that you learn, the more educated you get, the more stuff you'll know, obviously. So when you go out into life, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know this, I've read about this, or I've watched a video on this, or I know how to do it because I've done it. And it's so important to keep yourself educated and to be excited to be educated and to constantly be learning and really find your perfect way of learning how to learn. So like for me it was YouTube, and now getting back into books again, and for some people it would be taking courses, for other people it would be going out and physically doing it and not even watching videos or reading books or anything. And I think it's so important that you should enjoy learning, because it's one of them things that will help you in life more than you'll think it will. So if for instance, when I was learning about cameras and stuff and photography, I never thought I'd do it as a job. I never thought that would be, I'd get paid to do it. So I just learnt it as a fun thing. And then, a few years down the line, then it's my job. And that's why I think it's so important. And, videography, I watched all of these film school things and how to film stuff and lighting and everything like that. Never thought anything of it, just was quite excited by it. And then, again, a few years down the line, here I am making videos here and doing it for my full-time job as well. So it's really important that you try and learn as much as possible and be excited for learning, because learning is quite an exciting thing. It's not something that you should frown upon, because it's such a great thing to be able to learn stuff, and you'll feel better, you'll keep your brain active. And then it's also important to physically keep active as well. And and it's taken me a really long time to realise this. So, I never wanted to read books or anything, never liked lessons or learning, never really enjoyed this, never enjoyed, exercise, that kind of thing. So I've now realised how important it is that, all of these people that are saying exercise is important, learning is important, they weren't wrong. I just needed to find my own way of doing things. And I think that's super important, is that you realise what's important and then you find your way of doing that. So don't just give up on it because you go, nah, people, I don't enjoy it. You go, right, okay, so I know that this is important. How can I find a way that I'd enjoy it? So for me it was watching YouTube videos and physically doing stuff instead of sat in a classroom and writing in books and stuff. Or now it's having a read before bed and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think learning is important, and you should enjoy learning, because it's fun. Learning is fun. It's something that will help you in your future, help you in your life, keep your brain active. So if you sit there and you just sit and watch Netflix, and don't get me wrong, before anyone says, I do sit and watch Netflix, but it's not because I do that every single night. Every single night I'm either learning, or I'm doing something else, or I'm educating myself on stuff, because it's constantly growing me as a person. And that's how you get more knowledgeable, and that's how you learn and adapt, and you become a better person. That's the whole point of learning, is that you learn new things, you become better. And I've just hit my microphone, and it's important that you do, instead of just wasting your time, because what I've realised is life is so short, and there's only a certain state, I can learn for the rest of my life, but there's only kind of a certain amount of time that my brain will be active enough to be able to learn. So that's why I'm trying to learn as much as possible now, because then it gives me loads of time to perfect it. So photography, instead of learning it when I'm 80, I'm going to learn it now, because then I've got so long to perfect it. So if I hit 50 and I'm an absolute master pro at it, then that's because I started early and I've had all of that time to practice. So it's super important, and I really hope that this video makes you think about how important learning is, because we've only got so much time here and we've got to look after ourselves. And I think it's important that we just learn, we become better people, and we help people, and you know, we educate ourselves on what's going on around us, and you know, just make this world a better place, to make it cheesy, I think. So yeah, that's why it's important to learn. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I shall hopefully have my lighting fixed at some point when I can fix it, and yeah, I shall see you next week for a photography related video. Hopefully it'll be a good one. We'll see you then. Bye.